Hi guys, welcome into Rhill World. We're back for another huge episode today. Man, what a busy week it's been. I could have done two shows very easily this week. However, my personal life has been kind of busy as well, but I am more than excited to be with you here today. Thank you guys for watching and being with me. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Like I said, a big show to include some of the big stories are ICE and continuing protests going on around the country. An illegal superintendent of schools found in Des Moines, Iowa. Pete Hegseth speaks to the military. Steven Crowder and his Change My Mind is back. And also another big story in the news. I don't know if you've heard or not, but the government is shut down. Let's go ahead and get into it. Rhill World. I'm your host, Randall Hill, aka Rhill One. So the first big news story I'm going to get into is ICE. I did get into it a little bit on the last show, where we talked about some of the criminal activity that's going on, so on and so forth. But I wanted to get into also some of the fiscal stuff that we face as a consequence of an open border from the Auto-Pen administration for the prior 4 years to President Trump taking over. They were given a very clean border whenever Trump left office, and then they just opened it up and allowed millions and millions of these illegal aliens to pour in to the country, both criminal and non-criminal, I'll give you. But like I said, we can't have one without the other, and we can't stop one without stopping the other, and so it just kind of goes hand in hand. ICE has been under attack, under siege late. It's been an ongoing thing for a few weeks now, as the Trump administration just continues to do what actually every other administration has done, and that is to try to get these illegals out of the country. I mean, it's just costing the American taxpayers billions and billions of dollars, and various forms of payments to support this, and it's just not something that is sustainable, and it needs to stop. But we're seeing people want to get all racial and everything. I'm going to say it. It's mainly white liberals that are the problem with protesting ICE. You'll see, and it seems that they are the ones that are the most easily indoctrinated. I do feel a lot of the college institutions are to blame for that, but it is a societal problem as well. But the, just for lack of better word, dumbness that I'm seeing out there is just beyond words. I know that causing chaos and something that the government has been trying to do for decades, and that is dumbing down of society, has really working, and it's definitely showing as we continue to see all these ICE protests around the country. Whenever it's law enforcement people, all they're doing out there is trying to enforce the law, which includes trying to make your life better, trying to make America's life better, the country better, and just like I said, enforcing the law, which also makes our streets safer, our country wealthier, and affords us our way of life. I mean, and it's something that we cannot waver to. And the overwhelming election results, again, Trump winning the popular vote, all swing states, all counties saw a jump in Republican support due to highly this exact subject, that and the economy. And this subject does affect the economy as well, and we're seeing Trump attack both with vigorous strength, And, we want it to continue. The vast majority of America wants it to continue. So that's why we do not need to secede to these Democrat demands, as we see with ICE protests and the government shutdown that we'll get into a little bit later. But I just kind of wanted to segue into a video, actually by request, some of the stuff that's going on with ICE. And so without further ado, here, let's watch some of the stuff that's been going on around the country.
The video show you what we witnessed. Take a look. This was last night, one of those clashes. Federal agents bull rushing and arresting a protester who had stepped onto federal property despite repeated warnings. There was another protester taunting the agents on a megaphone, asking them what the feds were going to do about it if they walked on their property. Well, that guy found out. There was another video we had of agents chasing down and arresting a separate protester, though it's unclear what this woman was detained for. Now take a look at this. We also witnessed a violent fight. These two guys had been jawing at each other all night long. Then the fists started flying. The man in the white shirt was pro-ICE. The man in the black shirt anti-ICE. He was the one who got laid out with a punch to the face. Minutes later, we saw him appear to collapse and go limp with some serious swelling to his face. Federal agents had to carry him inside their building for medical attention. But guys, there was no Portland police around to intervene during any of this. It's an issue the Portland ICE director told me has been an ongoing problem due to local politics. Take a listen.
There have been folks that have been assaulted right down here on the street, even across the street, and it takes Portland police a while to respond, or sometimes they don't respond at all.
Sad.
In the meantime, anti-ICE protesters also set this American flag on fire before it was then ripped away by independent journalist Nick Sorter. He grabbed that flag with the flagpole, put the flames out, took the flag away, leading to him being cussed out by the protesters. More on him in a moment. But lastly, I want to show you this incident. We witnessed this female protester get maced in the face by a federal agent for unknown reasons. She had been yelling at agents, but we didn't see anything physical. Well, Portland police officers who watched from the sidelines then walked over after this and began collecting videos of the macing from witnesses who saw it. Officers on scene told us they are reviewing the incident for potential federal wrongdoing. And back out here live at the end of the night, the Portland Police Bureau says they sent in their rapid response team, but that was after almost all of the violence and tension had already finished. Portland police say they ended up arresting 3 people, one of which we can confirm is independent journalist Nick Sorter, the guy we just showed you pulling the burning American flag away. We don't know exactly what he was arrested for just yet. We're working on getting those details, but a night of tension out here in Portland, and the National Guard still has not arrived on scene yet, guys. We'll send it back to you.
So, Bill, 2 things. So the local cops aren't...
I'll just go ahead and leave that right there. Like I said, just utter chaos. These people don't know what they're doing. And, you've seen that protester get sprayed in the face because she wants to get mouthy and get in the face of people. And I understand free speech. I understand all that. But, enough is enough. If you're not putting yourself into that situation, you will not be pepper sprayed. You will not be hit with pepper balls, people. You will not face any kind of justice if you're not there being an antagonistic asshole. As I have explained in the past, that is all you're doing. We, the people, have voted for this. We do not want it to stop, especially not on account of any stupid liberals that don't understand what they are doing, what they are fighting for. However, I do have some advice for any of these protesters that are experiencing any injuries due to their stupidity and being at these protests. Might I suggest a little more ice in your life, both for any injury sustained and your attitude adjustments. I'll just leave that right there. All right, in other news, it's been reported that Des Moines, Iowa school district, they're hired an illegal alien to be their superintendent of schools. Yes, and he was being paid a staggering $300,000 of taxpayer money to assume this role, and had assumed it for quite some time. It's really disturbing that somebody can be in this role without an extensive background check. You would think that anybody around any children, or where their job pertains you to be around children, should have to undergo an extensive background check. Not only was he an illegal alien, he was allowed into the country originally. He was on an expired visa. He was notified about said expired visa. He also has weapons charges from being here as an illegal alien. He also has the enhancement of having illegal weapons charges, and somehow was still able to assume this position as a superintendent of schools in Des Moines, Iowa. Now, I'll tell you, as my son was growing up, I was his soccer coach and football coach from whenever he was young until he got a little bit older, and I had to undergo, I wouldn't say extensive, but pretty extensive background checks to make sure that I was suitable to be around those kids. And I would accept nothing different. If they didn't check me out, I would ask questions like, why are you allowing just anybody around these kids? So if you're in Des Moines, Iowa, in that school district, I would be asking a lot of questions. And come to find out, one of the presidents of the board of that school district was none other than Michelle Obama's chief of staff. Yes, so the plot thickens a little bit there. A story worth looking into if you got some time to look around and look into that. If you haven't been disgusted enough by all of the other stuff going on in the news since the last time we talked, I know it's been a week. It's been a week, let me tell you. But that is a story also worth looking into. Enough on that. Pete Hegseth also addressed the U.S. military this week, and just a speech that he had prepared to let them know some of the changes that are going on. And I just wanted to take a little excerpt of that to kind of explain what the speech was about. It wasn't in reference to what the liberal media was thinking. Oh, we're going to war. Oh, all the chaos and everybody's going to die, and all the other BS that they like to spout out there. It was just a strength of show, a show of strength. Wow. By Pete Hegseth, who is leading the Department of War. And without further ado, I'd like you to hear just a little bit of the speech that he had to offer.
I was at the White House when President Trump announced his Liberation Day for America's trade policy. It was a landmark day. Well, today is another Liberation Day. The liberation of America's warriors, in name, in deed, and in authorities. You kill people and break things for a living. You are not politically correct and don't necessarily belong always in polite society. We are not an army of one. We are a joint force of millions of selfless Americans. We are warriors. We are purpose-built, not for fair weather, blue skies, or calm seas. We were built to load up in the back of helicopters, 5 tons, or Zodiacs, in the dead of night, in fair weather or foul, to go to dangerous places, to find those who would do our nation harm, and deliver justice on behalf of the American people in close and brutal combat if necessary. You are different. We fight not because we hate what's in front of us. We fight because we love what's behind us. You see, the Ivy League faculty lounges will never understand us, and that's okay.
Amen.
Because they could never do what you do. The media will mischaracterize us, and that's okay. Because deep down they know the reason they can do what they do is you. In this profession, you feel comfortable inside the violence so that our citizens can live peacefully. Lethality is our calling card, and victory our only acceptable end state.
Amen. And well said. Another theme coming out of that speech. No more fat generals. Yes, but just a little bit of humor aside, just a pretty powerful speech, pretty powerful words there from the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, and he's been doing a phenomenal job just keeping strength at the tippy top of the list of things for our military to assume, and just keeping order and putting that back together. Trump administration 1.0 had a very, very strong military that was almost nearly depleted under President Otto Penn. We are in the process of, and pretty much there, re-engaging that military to be among the best in the world. It is now the best in the world once again, displaying some strength there and expectations of strength going forward. So bravo to Pete Hegseth, bravo to all of our men and women in the military. I know they're experiencing some things right now. However, I think that they all understand the duty, and even though some of them are going without pay at the moment and continuing to do their jobs, they know that this shutdown will end at some point, and I think they understand the reason the shutdown is happening. That is coming up, but I did want to touch on one more thing before I get into the government and the shutdown, and that is Steven Crowder. If you have not been paying attention lately, or don't know who Steven Crowder is, he is a political activist. He has a very, very popular podcast. I'm a big fan, and you know, he was one of the originators of the Change My Mind, or you know, some of the college campus visits, such as you saw with Charlie Kirk kind of taking over that role until that came to an abrupt end. In honor of Charlie Kirk, Steven Crowder has decided to go back to the college campuses, and he, on his podcast, gave a little bit of insight as to some of the experiences he's had in that journey. Without further ado, I just want to play a little clip from Steven Crowder. Here we go.
Mind. Welcome back to Change My Mind. It's been a while. This is the place where we rationalize, we reason our positions on controversial topics. When I created Change My Mind in 2017, I had one goal in mind, and that was to shine a light on the institutions that had failed Americans. Often students propagandized by the educational system, as well as legacy media.
Mr. Trump's once again defending comments he made about the white supremacists and neo-Nazis.
There were very fine people on both sides.
The president's statement that both sides are responsible for the violence in Charlottesville.
It was designed to bring genuine dialogue to what had become an impenetrable echo chamber dominated by progressive professors, administrators, student leadership, along with the complicit media and big tech establishment. To put it simply, the kind of dialogue that evaded all of cable news.
I know you said that. 150 police officers got hurt.
You said I was being hyperbolic. Let me respond. I'm not. You being a white man as an insult?
That just shows you the ridiculousness of all of this.
And so, nearly a decade later, with billions of plays, countless discussions, inspired student iterations, one meme of the year, and yes, even a few changed minds later.
I somewhat changed your mind.
Change My Mind had grown far bigger than I ever initially anticipated. And with that came pushback, controversy, increasing hostility, and yes, straight up violence.
You piece of living garbage ass dumpster fire.
it got to the point where security became a serious issue. And so I pulled back. Now, given recent events, however, I felt led, compelled even, to bring it back. Voices like ours, and I mean ours, can't be silenced. And I say this to you watching on the left, made me do this. I didn't necessarily want to, and everyone told me that this, in today's climate, could not be done unless I took unbelievable precautions, unless it was absolutely kept a secret until mere hours before the event as a pop-up, unless I literally brought an army with me and bulletproofed the entire radius, which is exactly what we did. And so today, for the first time in many years, Change My Mind returns, and back to one of the places where it all began, Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. Today's subject is plain and simple. The left is violent. Will anybody be able to change my mind?
All right, we'll go ahead and leave that one right there. I applaud Steven Crowder for going back out there. Obviously, he has the means to afford the security that he has put into play, reportedly spending $250,000. Yes, $250,000 on security alone to handle that event and to make sure it goes off without a hiccup. I just did want to include an RIP to, once again, to our friend Charlie Kirk. And we got you, brother. We got you. With that said, yeah, Steven Crowder goes on to have some interesting conversations. If you really want to see the indoctrination that our kids are facing at these universities, I encourage you to pull up and take a listen to the Crowder podcast. He did a part 1 and part 2. Some of these kids, they just don't get it, but it's not their fault. It is a lack of information, and that is one of the reasons, again, that I've joined this space. I think many others are joining this space. TPUSA is just doing wonderfully well in their expansion, and I think the information will continue to get out there, which is why we should continue to push our agenda. It is the right agenda, right versus wrong, right versus left, good versus evil, as I would say, and which is why we should not give way to Democrat leftist demands that led to a government shutdown. Yes, our government is shut down. I believe we are in day 5 as I'm coming to you here on Saturday. I'm going to show a clip of Caroline Leavitt addressing the nation yesterday here in just a minute. I believe that was day 4 of the government shutdown, but essentially it comes down to Trump passed a big, beautiful bill as he won. Let me see, he won the White House, he won the Senate, he won the House, he won the popular vote, he won every county saw an uptick in Republican voting. He won all the swing states. Yeah, I think the people have spoken that they wanted his agenda. They wanted his leadership. And with his leadership is this big, beautiful bill that was passed through Congress, the Senate, and signed by our President of the United States. So therefore, it is law. However, the Democrats are used to push over Republicans and being able to just to get loud and get boisterous and, claim, insanity, or everyone's going to die, all this little say whatever it takes, regardless of how much they're lying, to get their way and they're used to it because spineless Republicans of the past caved. That's one of the reasons why I can't call myself a Republican. I am a registered independent. I am an independent conservative. I will say that, but I am and remain an independent because I still see some of the spineless nature in the Republican Party, and I think until that changes, which I am seeing some good things, and the steadfast stand on this is really, really nice to see as well. But here we are, government shut down, and Democrats aren't caving. Why is the government shut down, you might ask? Well, the Democrats want illegal health care, which health care benefits for illegal immigrants is how I should properly say that. However, in the big beautiful bill, that was one of the things that was taken out of the legislation that was previously put in there. Again, that passed through Congress. It is law, and the Republicans are now just trying to pass a clean CR bill. As you'll see stated in the upcoming clips from the White House, this has been voted on many, many times as a clean CR bill. They're not trying to, on our side, on the right side, they're not trying to push any additional agendas, no additional pork, nothing additional for our agenda whatsoever. We're just trying to pass another clean CR bill to keep the government up and running. The Democrats, however, are saying they will not support it, as they have in the past, basically a PR move, until they're able to get more benefits for illegal aliens to the tune of billions and billions and billions of dollars. Once again, none of that going to Americans, American citizens, American cities, in any kind of way, just to serve as healthcare benefits for illegals. As a double-edged sword there, it also puts a hindrance on the Medicare side of things as well, the resources as it pertains to medical personnel, medical establishment, beds, so on and so forth, and medication itself that should be prioritized to Americans, as that should be the priority in this country. And I did want to say one more thing about illegal immigration and these people talking about, they need due process, what about due process? All I'm going to tell you on that issue there is, what kind of right do you think you get when you come into the country, skipping all due process and that part of things? We should be allowed to skip all due process that you think is afforded to get them back out. Let that fester for just a little while. But back to government shutdown. Here is our fearless White House correspondent on the shutdown.
We are now in day 3 of the Democrat-led government shutdown. The Democrats continue to recklessly hold to give illegal aliens free health care. Republicans are fully unified behind passing nonpartisan clean funding bill, the exact same bill that Democrats approved back in March to reopen the federal government. But those same Senate Democrats are now voting against this clean funding bill and keeping the people's government closed. I understand Democrats will have an opportunity very shortly here to change course, and we hope that they will. There are significant personal impacts on millions of Americans as a result of this current government shutdown. The 1.3 million men and women of America's Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, and Space Force who serve honorably and put their lives on the line to defend us all are not being paid. Military families are already seeking out food assistance because of financial anxiety caused by this Democrat shutdown. According to new reporting from the Military Times, staff members at the Armed Services YMCA food pantry distribution location near Fort Hood in Texas found a line of military families stretched around the side of the building yesterday at 5 in the morning.
I'll just leave that right there. An interesting press conference if you wanted to go ahead and take a look at that and see everything that was discussed in that. That was Friday's press conference, and she did mention that there would be an opportunity to reopen the government before end of day Friday, and just to update the news on that, no changes. The government remains in shutdown, and Democrats hold steadfast on you must fund health care benefits for illegals in order for us to open up the government again. So when you hear the White House and other Republicans state that this is a Democrat-led government shutdown, that is the reason, that is what is at the forefront. And again, it is just not something that is sustainable. I understand, people are going to say, oh, these people deserve this. They don't. They, again, bypassed any due process getting into the country that gives them no rights to anything that the country offers for its citizens. And, we have bent over backwards to try to work with Democrats, to try to work with, the situation. And unfortunately, the only thing that we're able to do at this point in time is to embolden ICE, to strengthen ICE, and to ramp up deportation, get these people out. We cannot afford it. We are not going to be the scapegoat to the world's problems. We can't afford to take on the world fiscally, the world's people, from a resource standpoint, so on and so forth. It's really self-explanatory. If you can't explain it and you are just behind in education and you're just that dumb at this point in your life, there really is no helping you. I'm not talking to you, our audience that this will appeal to. I thank you guys for just being smart and being you. So thank you. I did want to also play just one last little clip from Caroline Leavitt there at the press conference, kind of highlighting some more of the stuff around the government shutdown. Without further ado, here's Caroline Leavitt.
The Congress on that matter. Andrew.
Thank you, Caroline. Two things. First, to follow up on something you said earlier about hospitals treating undocumented or illegal aliens. Is it the administration's position that hospitals should not have to treat people who come into the emergency department who are not here legally?
No, that's not our position. Our position is that it's completely unacceptable that the Biden administration paroled and encouraged an invasion of tens of millions of illegal aliens into our country and then promised them free health care. And the Democrats are on the record repeatedly stating that they believe illegal aliens should have health care benefits, free health care benefits in the United States of America. So that is a recipe for a disaster. Of course you're going to encourage a mass illegal invasion of our country, which is exactly what happened. And we've seen the unfortunate consequence of that, where American patients are being put last, where American patients are having to wait in wait rooms, where grandmothers and grandfathers are waiting hours and hours for care because they're being put behind the line to illegal aliens. And we don't agree with that. We don't support that. That's why the administration is desperately trying to fix it and deport the tens of millions of illegal aliens that the Democrats and the Biden administration allowed into our country. And we'd love to continue doing that work so long as the federal government is reopened. And there are many federal law enforcement agents and officers right now who are working without pay. That's unacceptable. The Democrats need to reopen the United States government, and we hope that they will do the right thing on the Senate floor.
As I said, update on that. Of course, they didn't do the right thing. They never do the right thing, not by the American people anyway. And so with that, the government remains shut down. And with that, I must go ahead and shut down myself. Please, guys, remember to like, comment. Please subscribe to the channel if you like what you're seeing. I promised you at least one time a week. I'll try to get on here more often whenever my week isn't as chaotic as this one has been, but I did make it. So I'm happy to be here with you guys. And if you could just please go ahead and subscribe, and please share this with anybody that'll listen, friends, family. Go and meet your neighbor that you may have not met yet. Knock on their door, tell them about the show, and talk about it later on. It could build some new friendships there. You never know. But with that said, I thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.